Throughout the course of the MCU, the presence of mutants has been incredibly sparse due to the long-time divide between Disney property rights, but finally, it seems as if Marvel is introducing the roster of mutant kind, and is bringing the X-Men home. So then, how many mutants are already present in the MCU? Which characters have mutations in the comics, and how many were introduced even before Marvel was allowed to use them, and use the term mutant? Well, stick with us today, watchers of the Marvel Multiverse, and let's discuss the most notable mutants, including the ones that were introduced before the term mutation was ever officially used. One important note to make, however, is that we will not be including characters who we've seen in the multiverse, since there is theoretically an infinite number of roster of all of our favorite characters. Since we see Professor Xavier on Earth 838, and he has the leadership notoriety to join the Illuminati, it stands to reason that the X-Men are well established over on that timeline. So we will be sticking to MCU, Earth 616, and natives of this universe which we've already seen, not across the multiverse. The first individual to be formally referred to as a mutant wasn't actually a mutant in her original source material at all, and she seems to have the honor of debuting the word mutant in the MCU. We are talking, of course, about Kamala Khan, otherwise known as Miss Marvel, who was originally envisioned as an Inhuman rather than a mutant. While this origin isn't being carried over into the MCU, it does allow us our first use of the term in the modern Marvel landscape, opening the door to other mutants quickly following suit and confirming that they do in fact exist in Earth 616. Known mutants, however, can be traced back all the way to 2015 following the debut of the Maximoff twins. The Maximoffs haven't been officially referred to as mutants as of now, but there is still a distinct possibility and logical explanation as to how they can still be mutants in the MCU in line with their original origins. In the comics, they are the mutant children of Magneto, but since they are also mainstays of the Avengers roster, they fell into a gray area regarding what Marvel was legally able to use concerning them at the time, and Marvel was allowed to use them so long as they refrained from referring to them as mutants or having mutations. It's currently unknown if they were officially mutants as of now, but if the Mind Stone simply awakened their latent mutant potential, then it could explain their drastic power disparity despite being exposed to the same stimuli. It could also help to explain why mutants are not common as of now. But for more on this idea, be sure to check out our theory on how mutants will eventually be introduced into the MCU. Following this was a brief cameo by an individual by the name of Mikhail Ursus, who made his debut in 2021's Black Widow solo film. Though he has limited screen time, he is the individual who arm wrestles with Alexei during his time in prison. In the original comic line, he is a Russian-born mutant known as Ursa Major. His original mutation allows him the ability to turn into a Russian brown bear, which he put to use for years across several different teams as well as organizations. As a seasoned member of the Winter Guard, Ursus is one of the most physically formidable mutants that we've seen thus far in the MCU, and although he hasn't turned into a bear on screen as of yet, he very likely may. Since both Alexei and Yelena will be returning in the Thunderbolts, it's not unreasonable to believe that he might also return at some point in the timeline. Though he too wasn't officially referred to as a mutant, this would be an incredibly easy retcon to make without breaking character continuity given what we know about the character and how we know virtually nothing about his on-screen iteration. Next, let's discuss one of the most avidly awaited individuals of this very year, that being Namor, the Submariner of Talokan. Not only was Namor a mutant in the comics, but it has been confirmed that he will remain the case in the MCU, showcasing a unique blend of mutant-human genes as well as Atlantean physiology, making him one of the most unique mutants to date. This makes Namor just the second confirmed mutant to exist on Earth 616, being officially referred to as a mutant by Marvel Studios themselves. Namor's mutation is part of the reason why he is so adept at surviving the depths of the ocean while simultaneously being able to navigate the land without issue. And we can only speculate what other mutant abilities we could see from this character this November. As a fan favorite character with immense potential, it's possible that we might see him even following the conclusion of Wakanda Forever, but that remains to be seen. We also know most recently that She-Hulk showcased her own roster of mutants without using the official term, including first Craig Hollis, otherwise known as Mr. Immortal, though the character was used largely for comedic effect and likely will not have a long-lasting impact on the MCU moving forward. Hollis is in fact a mutant though in the source material. His mutation allows him to return from death, as he is resurrected every single time that he dies. In the MCU, rather than using this for heroism or anything noble, he uses it to scheme and con various prospective romantic partners. He has used death to escape marriages and relationships for which he is now on the hook for. Seeing Jennifer Walters and her firm represent Mr. Hollis on several cases of fraud and other forms of legal trouble. Elsewhere in the She-Hulk series, we meet El Aguila. Alejandro Montoya of Spain was a mutant known for his prowess with a sword. While his mutation allows him to harness bioelectric energy, he often opts to hide this power in favor of his swordsmanship. Not only is he the second mutant from the comics to appear in She-Hulk alone, but the series also includes a reference to perhaps one of the most well-known mutants of this generation, that being the adamantium-clawed savage known as Wolverine. In a brief newspaper clipping, we can read about a man who fought in a bar fight with metal claws, which seems to confirm the presence of Wolverine in the MCU, and this appears to indicate that it's only a matter of time before Logan arrives in all of his glory. As a side note, Hugh Jackman returning as Wolverine is likely a multiversal story, and Hugh Jackman will not be playing the mainline MCU iteration of the Clawed Avenger. While the term is still largely underused, it's apparent that mutant kind is slowly being integrated into the main Marvel landscape, and while we can't see an X-Men project in the near future, this doesn't mean that mutants will continue to crop up for the coming years, many of which might be hidden right in plain sight. But anyway, my friends, what do you think of this list so far of all of the mutants in the MCU? Are these all of the comic mutants that have appeared so far in the Marvel Cinematic Universe on Earth 616? And with more and more mutants showing up, which MCU mutant do you think will make their next appearance? As a side note, we've heard from Kevin Feige that we won't be seeing the Mutant Saga for several years, as of course they have to wrap up the multiversal saga first, meaning it will be at least 5 years before we get the interpretation of the MCU X-Men. However, again, this doesn't mean that mutant kind won't continue to grow and expand in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Anyway, my friends, leave your thoughts and opinions on this down below, and again, crush that subscribe button to assemble and join our team. I'll see you guys in the next video.